Hey guys, Max from Baka Burrito here, and today on Breakfast Burrito, we're going to do Sports for Weebs Part 3. And the reason I wanted to do Sports for Weebs Part 3 was because, we're at the NBA Finals right now, really competitive series between the Lakers and Heat, and we have the pennant race going on in baseball. So I'm going to be talking about one basketball anime and one baseball anime in honor, of like these two major championships coming to a close end. Coming to an end. And the first one I want to go over is Diamond No Ace because I'm a Yankees fan and the Yankees just lost, so I need to think of at least one team I know that wins, even if it is anime related. And Diamond No Ace is a really interesting anime because it's not your basic underdog story that most sports anime follow. Like normal sports anime will follow a pattern of the team kind of having a bunch of amateurs on with one or two really talented players showing up and then building a team that eventually becomes the underdog in most tournaments or the dark horse and eventually wins the championship. This takes a different take on it because you follow this character Samura. Samura? Yeah, Samura. And pretty much what he's doing is he's joining a team known as Sado, which is one of the best teams in the Tokyo region. And it's really interesting because mostly of the time the main characters don't follow this path. And Samura, or we're going to just call him Ajun because that's what they call him in the anime, he was on this small middle school team in the middle of nowhere, and he gets scouted by one of the biggest schools in the region, like in the nation actually. It's a nationally recognized program. And at first he's like hesitant of wanting to go originally because he wants to play with his friends, the normal shonen protagonist path. But he ends up actually going to check out the facility, which is it's top notch. Like, he looks around and he's just like, "Oh my god, this is unreal! Like you got all this fancy equipment. You got more than one pitching machine. You got more than one batting cage. Like where I come from, we don't even have any of that." And it's really cool to see this kid just realize like, hold up, there's a whole other level to this high school sports program than just going to practice with friends. And he goes there and actually ends up pitching their their best batter, and actually ends up striking him out. And it's a really cool moment for him. But then he goes back and he's stuck contemplating what he wants to do at this point. Does he want to play with his friends and probably go nowhere, in all honesty, to nationals? Because the rest of his team is nowhere near his same level of talent. And what he ends up doing actually is talking to his family about it, and they decide in the end it's his decision. He has to make it, but they tell his friends that he has a chance to go play for one of the nationally recognized programs. And in the end, like his friends tell him, like, yeah, you have to go. Like, are you freaking insane? This is an opportunity for you to play with one of the best schools in the country. You could go pro potentially by playing for this school. And so he ends up actually choosing to go to Sado. And one of the heartbreaking scenes I gotta say, it's a little bit of a tearjerker. When he's getting on the train, his friends finally break down, realizing they're never going to be able to play with Adrian. And it's kind of heartbreaking, though, because now he's carrying all their hopes and dreams of wanting to go to nationals with him. And when he eventually gets there, you meet a lot of really great characters, but we're going to only focus on a couple because the show is a dynamic cast of characters. And the first one we're going to focus on is one that I kind of like, is one of his roommates, Yoichi. Yoichi is the first batter of the Sado baseball team and the shortstop, which is a very critical position and batting spot in the lineup because he's the leadoff man. He's the guy that builds the momentum for the team. And it's really cool when you first just meet him, though, because he's just like you're running the gun, like, I want to have fun, like, I'm fast, like, as Devin would say, more speed kind of guy. And it's really cool just, watching their dynamic flourish as time goes on, them being roommates together. And another character that you also do meet that is really interesting is Miyuki, who is this second year laid back dude who's like one of the most talented catchers in the nation, no doubt about it. And you just see him go from a character that's just so, like, you don't expect much from him at first because he just seems like that kind of like guy who talks big but doesn't really perform, until like this, it turns out he's this very serious catcher who wants to win. He wants to go to nationals. He wants to lead his team to a title, and it's really cool because, it's actually it's actually refreshing to see, though, because all these characters are talented baseball players, which is something I'm not used to in most sports anime, because you don't normally get a whole talented group of players. And then one of the last characters I want to talk, well, there's three more characters I'm going to talk about. But one of the other big characters is this other pitcher named Furia. Furia? And pretty much he's pretty much the other guy gunning for the ace position with Asian. And he is a pitcher that can pitch 100, 40, 50 kilometers per hour pitch, which is almost 100 miles per hour in, America. And it's ridiculous. This kid is unreal. And, Adrian has to go up against, this insanely talented pitcher at his own school. So he's an underdog at his school, but he's part of a school that is not any stretch of an underdog. And it's just really cool to watch, their chemistry as they keep going further, because they keep pushing each other to become better pitchers. Adrian pushes Furia to not rely on his fastball, only he has to develop more besides throwing 100 miles per hour, while Furia forces Adrian to realize he can't pitch like Furia, and he has to find his own way. And speaking of growing the main character, the other character who is more of a minor role, but he plays such a big part in Adrian's growth, is Chris Senpai. Chris Senpai is that guy. At first he seems like this character's kind of giving up on the sport. He has this dead look in his eyes when he's trying to help Adrian realize his potential. And I'm not going to spoil much about this part because honestly their growth is just so great. You have to watch it on your own. But Chris helps Adrian realize his potential as a pitcher and forces Adrian to not just pitch selfishly and focus on pitching for the team. Now, once again, Domino Aces is a very long-running anime overall. It's got over 200 episodes at this point. It's a very popular baseball anime, especially in Japan, because baseball is the be-all, end-all. And I couldn't recommend a better baseball anime, especially one that actually has a different dynamic of being this championship caliber team instead of being this underdog, which is refreshing to see because it's nice to actually watch, an anime where everybody knows what they're doing and don't have to go through that really annoying training arc sometimes where you gotta teach everybody from the ground up how to be good. And it's just fun to actually see them all right, no, we're just going from 0 to 100. We're going for a championship first year. No waiting. The second anime I want to talk about is Kuroko no Basketball, or the basketball that Kuroko plays. And this anime is it's a fun time. If you want to talk about where we stand on the types of sports anime, it's the one where there are lasers being shot. There are people performing moves that I'm just that. How are you this good? You should be a pro. If you're this good and you're not even a pro, how good are the pros? This is the type of anime that we're watching. It's closer to more of a Dragon Ball Z world than an actual sports anime, but it's something I really do like. And this story centers around a group known as the Generation of Miracles, which are 5 super prodigies that came onto the middle school scene and played together and just dominated, won 3 national championships, and we went on to high school. But we don't focus on them right away. What we focus on is this character, Tetsu, who is the Phantom Six Man of the Generation of Miracles. And for those who don't know what a six man is in basketball, a six man is a specialist. Somebody who specializes in one certain attribute in basketball. A specialist could range from a passer to a shooter, or just somebody, or a center that's just very good at getting rebounds. It's really you specialize in one aspect of the sport itself. You don't focus. You're not a generalist like most of the starting roster is. He's kind of your go-to guy if you need it for a specific situation. And what Kuroko's specialty is passing, which is not really seen in the pros at all. There's our point guards who are very good at passing, moving the ball around, causing ball movement. But Kuroko isn't a point guard. He's the type of person that you pass the ball to, and he makes the ball. He disappears and passes the ball. So you don't even know where Kuroko is on the court. He's a phantom six man. And it's a really cool dynamic because it opens up this whole potential of opportunities of how you can use his passing, how you can use his movement. Because if you can't see the 5th man on the court, in reality you can pass the ball almost anywhere, which makes him kind of broken, honestly. In basketball, that's not fair. And on defense, when he's playing defense, though, he doesn't do defense. Let's just essentially put it that way. And pretty much I'll give you a premise of what the story is. Kuroko no Basketball, like I said, is the 5 Generation of Miracles, but it starts off with Tetsu going to this school, Serin. And Serin is small basketball program that first year in, though, they made it to like the Kanto regional tournament and then got stomped. But they're a legit program after their first year. It's very hard to get that far just after 1 year, of in existence. And Kuroko joins the team, and this other guy, Kagami, also joined, who has the potential, you find out after a few episodes, to be as good as any member of the Generation of Miracles. And so it starts off with, all the new freshmen lining up, and getting, like, checked out, being like, okay, what's their talent level? And Kagami shows up, and they're like, oh, hold up, this guy's really good. And then they pretty much are about to, like, move on and everything, and then they're like, wait, but where's the guy from Tato, the nationally recognized middle school? And they don't notice him because Kuroko has a lack of presence. They can barely see him. He's kind of that guy, that is in your friend group but not there really. Or like that person like in the crowd that he just seems like somebody in the background, somebody you wouldn't notice. And they all freak out when they when they notice him because they realize they hadn't seen him. They don't know where he came from. And when they analyze his skills, he's pretty much already maxed out, like according to their manager, which her name is Rico. The manager's name is Rico, and she pretty much says, well, you're maxed out. Like, I don't know what I can do with you. And she eventually figures out, like, as that episode's gone, they play a 5-on-5, that Tetsu is the real deal. There's a reason he played at Teiko. And it's really cool, like, just to see the reactions of underestimating this guy who doesn't look like he should ball to being an actual really good baller. And it's just that's just one of my favorite, especially one of my favorite scenes in general, because it's just, you're like, oh, okay, you got it, you're pretty good, fair enough. Now, the series goes on for about 3 seasons, and it's just like it only follows 1 year of them going to the winning nationals. Essentially, that's their goal. But it's a very fun anime overall because they go very over the top with all their moves and techniques, like Kuroko, like obviously turning invisible on the court. That's pretty out there, but it makes it really fun because it's not supposed to be an anime where you really learn the rules of the sport. It's like if you already understand the rules of the sport and how the game is played, just watching everybody go to a ridiculous degree. And it's fun though. It's a very fun journey to follow. One other thing I would like to say though about this anime overall is that there's some really great characters you meet along the way. Some really great character development that goes on. Another character I really do like is Junpei Hyuga, who is the captain of the Seirin basketball team. And the reason I like this guy is he doesn't stand out like the other players as much, but he is that mental fortitude, and it's one of the things I really do like about sports anime in general, because sometimes the main character isn't your mental strength or your ace is the most important player sometimes on a team. Don't get me wrong, they're very important. But sometimes a character like Junpei, he doesn't have any special skill except he's a very good three-point shooter. But he is the mental center of that team, and you see that throughout the series. He is the one that keeps them together and locked in and focused. He's like a LeBron James type, or Steph Curry, or I'm trying to think of one more basketball player that is like the mental focus. Chris Paul. He's that type of player where he's not necessarily the best player, but he is the reason the team stays so focused because he keeps them locked in and ready to win. And you do see that though, because especially when they go to their first tournament, it's not Kagami that necessarily helps. He does a huge part, obviously, winner Tetsu. It's Junpei who keeps the team focused on their goal and makes them focus on not playing individual basketball, but playing team basketball. And that's another interesting theme though that this anime does touch on, which I feel like not a lot of them. Well, a lot of sports animes do, but I like how they did it in this one especially. It's because you have these characters, like in the Generation of Miracles, that can, I'm not going to name any of the characters' names because I want you to find out who they are yourselves and learn about that. But there's characters who can shoot full court baskets and make it in 100% of the time. Players who have unrealistic athletic agility that can't be stopped. Centers that, just are so busted, like it's impossible to shoot on them. And it becomes very easy in basketball to rely on one individual player because it's a court of 5. But what I like about this anime is no matter how good Kagami gets or Kuroko gets, it's about playing as a team. Because Kuroko's style of basketball can only for instantly flourish because it's based off teamwork and passing. And that's the most important theme of this show. The show emphasizes that you can't win on your own. And that falls that's totally true in almost any sport, and not even anime in general, any sport in general. You can't win on your own, no matter how hard you try, because even if like you're one amazing player, if there are 4 or 5 players with great teamwork and chemistry, they can stop that one player. Like, go ahead, like double, triple team that one guy. Let the other people try to beat you. And if you don't have that teamwork or that trust in your teammates, you end up losing. And that's how a lot of the Generation of Miracles end up struggling, especially early on in the series, because the only player they can rely on is themselves. But there was one character, I'll name one of the Generations of Miracles, actually, Amine, who says one line that I think epitomizes what selfish basketball is all about. The only one who can beat me is me. And he's kind of right in a sense, because when he plays so selfishly, he is technically beating himself because he's not trusting anybody else, which means if they lose, it's because he refused to work with his teammates, the other 4 people on the court. While Kagami, on the other hand, relies on Kuroko, relies on his teammate to make some other buckets, to make plays, and doesn't put it all on his back. And you find out later on that is one of the major differences between the Sarian team and all these other powerhouse schools, because they end up relying only on the Generation of Miracles for at least half the series, which is a huge issue. I think that's where I'm going to leave it, though, for today. Don't forget to like and comment on the video. Recommend me a couple sports anime you might want me to check out or talk about. And if you can't think of any, why don't you tell me who's going to win the Heat Lakers? If the Heat Lakers have already, won, I'm going to say Lakers in 6. And if you also want to comment about anything baseball related, go right ahead. Like, I'd love to have a conversation about it. Possibly any sports anime you might want me to talk about in the future. I'm just rambling at this point, but here we go.